We're not in Oklahoma, but here in Nebraska, the corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it comes right down to the edge of the racetrack as we get set for the International Hot Rod Association Snap-on Tools Mid-America Nationals. Let's recall final qualifying in the Scotchgard Automotive Protectors 3M Night of Fire under a beautiful midsummer moon. The crowd that turned out here at the Motorplex got a great show. We'll start off with Pro Modified, the only man on the track, Ed Hoover, with a new paint job symbolic of his new team, a 4-car effort here this weekend.
And you can tell by this run, Hoover was on a blast. The fastest time ever for a nitrous-injected car. Look at that, 6:66 elapsed time at 207.99 miles per hour.
Another matchup in the near lane, Norm Estes. In the far lane, Al Billis, the flying Canadian. A look outside of Billis's car, and he is absolutely blown away by Estes.
Estes ran a 6.87 at 198.41 miles per hour.
Not a great weekend for Billis. He came in at the number 5 qualifier. Now in Pro Stock, Jerry Yeoman, last man on the track in Pro Stock, not in the show when he hit the lights.
Wasn't in the show then, but he is now because he turned a 7.10 good enough to tie up the number 4 qualifying position.
Now watch the far lane, Jack Ostrander, 49-year-old former drag boat racer, hasn't seen a number 1 qualifying spot since 1990, but he gets one here.
Ostrander, 5:04, 264, and remember, he's an IHRA regular. Ostrander is back.
In Alcohol Funny Car, watch the right side of your screen. Scott Scooter Weiss, what a ride!
Scott Weiss, number 2 in the points, making a real charge this year for the IHRA. Had a problem. The car was on fire as he went through the finish line lights.
Keep your eye on Scott Weiss. Flames billowing from under the car. No way this one's going to stop. He's got to get out.
A funny car fire is especially dangerous even in an alcohol car because it acts like a giant furnace. The flames are trapped inside that body. You see Scott Weiss crawling out through the escape hatch now, jumps down very gracefully. Cool-headed guy, Bob.
Right into the arms of the PTS track crew. They got the extinguishers on it, but the Scott Weiss crew had themselves a weekend trying to put that car back together. Of course, no Night of Fire would be complete without jet car action, and we certainly wouldn't deprive the folks here at the IHRA's first national event visit to the Great Midwest. The Scotchgard Automotive Protectors 3M Night of Fire, complete with fireworks, and a great time was had by all. Welcome back to the IHRA Mid-America Nationals. Bob Barsha, Ted Jones, and Brett Kepner with you. We'll take a look at quarterfinal action in Alcohol Funny Car, and there, believe it or not, is the scarred machine of Scott Weiss. After that huge burn down during the Night of Fire, they got that car back together, and the man from Hanover, Virginia will go up against Ray Motes from Russell, Kansas.
You know, it never ceases to amaze me how innovative these drag racers can be and how well they can bounce back and repair these cars after the extensive damage that Scott Weiss suffered.
Great lead for Scott Weiss, but he gets absolutely sideways off the launch pad. Ray Motes will have the easy advance.
Well, very wisely, Weiss lifted Ray Motes with a 6:32 to move into the next round.
Here's another look at Scott Weiss. Good launch right there, but he starts to lose traction and gets right there sideways and bouncing all the way down through the 60-foot mark. We are ready for quarterfinal action in Pro Stock, and we've got a tire war going on in Pro Stock. 11 of 16 qualified cars are on Hoosier tires from Indiana. So Goodyear is really having to look to its laurels. There's the Goodyear shod car of Sherry Kemp, female driver from Lafayette, Indiana, number 11 in points. She'll be going up against the number 1 man, Billy the Kid Huff.
Billy the Kid running a giant 754 cubic inch Pontiac for power. Sherry only has, I say only has, 723 inches.
Billy Huff has qualified into 5 finals this year, winning 3 of them at the Winter Nationals, the Empire Nationals, and the Northeast Nitrous Nationals. He knocked off defending world champion Doug Kirk in the first round. Good launch of Sherry Camp, having a little bit of trouble. She'll have to get out of it and get the car straightened up, and you can't do that to Billy.
Huff in there with a 722, 193 miles per hour to advance on.
Watch the left-hand lane here as Sherry Camp drifts out near the wall, has a little trouble, has to get the car straightened up, and the Kid just drives around her.
Boy, the traction great here. Both cars carrying the wheels, no tire spin all the way down the quarter mile, and Billy Huff picks up an easy victory.
Now here comes an interesting matchup. There is the biggest V8 engine you ever saw, Floyd Cheek behind the controls. There is Chris Hunt. He's driving maybe the most famous mountain motor ever. It's the drivetrain owned by 5-time world champion Ricky Smith. Ricky says he wants to go be a nitro driver. Now in the far lane, let's get back to Chris Hunt. Second-generation racer, he and his dad Tommy bought Ricky Smith's Pontiac package to put into their Chevy, a 92 Chevy Lumina, and Ricky guaranteed him a top 4 qualifying spot. He got it, but now Chris Hunt is out of shape. And give it to Floyd Cheek.
Cheek with a 719, 191 miles per hour. They have not reached the potential of that big Ford motor yet.
That is absolutely amazing. And speaking of which, the first man under 7 seconds in a pro stocker at the U.S. Open in Darlington, Harold Denton. His opponent, Steve Williford, in a brand new chassis built by Tommy Mooney, who once won the World Championship in pro stock with the Williford team.
Williford, a second-generation drag racer, so we've got the old redhead, the experience of Harold Denton against the young upstart Steve Williford on the line. Let's see who leads first.
Williford absolutely electrified the crowds at the recent Nitrous Nationals with speeds of over 205 miles an hour, but he won't get it here. Harold Denton is the winner. There you see the numbers. Carlton Phillips had no opposition from Jerry Yeoman. Floyd Cheek will meet Billy Huff in the other semi. Welcome back to the Snap-on Tools Mid-America Nationals in Scribner, Nebraska. We're ready for quarterfinal action in Pro Modified. There is Bill Kuhlman from Wentzville, Missouri, number 4 in the points chase right now. Big Bill running his 1992 Camaro with a nitrous motor. He doesn't have the supercharged mill in there. He will be going up against Jason Peterson, the middle man in the 3 members of the Peterson family that are out here racing in Pro Mod.
Kuhlman out of shape, slightly swerved just a little bit. That could cost him some very valuable elapsed time, and Peterson will pick up the victory with a 683, 194. Kuhlman slowed and went into the 7th as a result of that bobble.
Now elsewhere in the quarterfinals, we saw Ed Hoover, the number 1 qualifier, against Chuck Peterson, Jason's dad.
Remember, Hoover was the fast guy during the 3M Automotive Protectors Night of Fire with that 666. Can he uncork it this time? He goes a 685, 200.62 miles per hour. Has to be a favorite to win.
And now here is Chad Peterson, youngest of the Petersons in competition, going up against Canadian Al Billis.
Billis has turned to the supercharged car, and he has to shut it off and shut it down right now. Chad Peterson with a 685, 200 miles per hour. He matches Hoover.
And now, Scotty Cannon, number 1 in points, the defending world champion, against Killer Brooks out of Youngstown, Ohio, already a winner this year. And Cannon has to get out of it. What an upset.
I can't believe it. Killer Brooks, 682, 205 miles per hour.
In the first round, Brooks knocked off the number 3 man in points, Norm Estes. Now he knocks off number 1 as Scotty Cannon drifts right out to the middle of the track and had to get out of it. It's time for the slingshots of nitro-burning top-fuel dragsters. Quarterfinal action. First up, Maurice DuPont out of Palmdale, California. And his opponent will be Wayne Bailey from Lake Orion, Michigan. Bailey on Firestone slicks. First time we've seen stones in action here. Bailey suffered a huge accident earlier this year, burned down his operation. Maurice DuPont with a comparatively small Chrysler 494 block just behind him.
Well, this is Maurice DuPont's first appearance for IHRA, at least on national television. Wayne Bailey, a regular competitor. The Firestone slicks being run by Bailey are being watched with great interest because they have just perfected that new Top Fuel tire. They hope to get into the Top Fuel wars and give Goodyear some competition.
We talked about Hoosiers in pro stock competition, so we have tire wars in 2 categories here in the IHRA. DuPont in the far lane, Bailey on the near lane. Away they go, 9,000 horsepower. DuPont brakes, Wayne Bailey will have a walkover.
Bailey on a run though, 527, 267 miles per hour. Bailey is back.
Now there is the points leader, Doug Herbert, in a brand new car. Doug Herbert in the near lane up against Randy Meyer, racing out of Roland Park, Kansas. Herbert debuted this car in Washington with a straight of 5 straight runs at 480 and 290 miles an hour.
He's on a run. Look at Herbert, 5.12, 282 miles per hour. He is flying. That clutch was set up perfectly. You see the black clutch dust coming out. No tire spin whatsoever. Shifts to high gear and really walks away.
Here's a look at Randy Meyer driving a chassis of his own construction. A good solid pass for him at 5.12 and 282. But that just won't work against a guy like Herbert, who has been in the final round of every competition this year. We move on. Here is the #1 qualifier from Pontiac, Michigan, 49-year-old bowling alley owner, Jack Ostrander.
You know, these guys can really start putting the clutch in these cars now, and this man, Jack Ostrander, is just the guy to do it. A lot of experience. This starting line is phenomenal.
There's his opponent, Richard Langston from Carson City, Nevada. #2 in points against #6, but the #1 and 6 qualifiers.
That starting line holds again. Absolutely no tire spin. This is a great launching pad. Ostrander, look at that. 5.11, 271 miles per hour.
And he did it all right off the pad. Look at him draw away. Wins by more than a car length. So it'll be Herbert against Bailey. But we're not through with you yet. Coming back, we will have Pro Stock and Pro Mod semifinals. Stay with us. Duels Mid-America Nationals Pro Modified semifinals are up next, and our first matchup will be a pairing of teammates. Ed Hoover, the #1 qualifier, and Chad Peterson from North Sioux City, Iowa, part of the 4-car CT racing effort. On board with Chad, we've met Father Chuck, who lost to Ed Hoover in the quarterfinals. Jason Peterson is in the other half of the bracket.
Now remember, Hoover ran that 666 in qualifying, then he ran a 677, and the most previous round a 685. He's slowing down, Bob.
Peterson with troubles in the far lane has to get out of it. Hoover will have an easy run.
Hoover speeds up a little, 6.80, 202 miles per hour, but he can't find the 60s again.
Once again, that CT Racing logo as Jason Peterson, the last remaining member of the Peterson clan, will go up against Killer Brooks from Youngstown, Ohio. Ted, have you ever seen 3 members of the same family in the same class in the IHRA making it as far as the quarters?
No, I can't recall that anywhere in drag racing.
They are away. Killer Brooks carries the front wheels and gives up a car length to Peterson in the far lane.
Jason Peterson, a 680, 201 miles per hour. He matched Ed Hoover's time. We've got to go out to the last decimal to get lane choice.
And you can see the torque raising that left front wheel, meaning Killer Brooks had to steer with the throttle. Big black marks out the back of the car in the right lane, leaving rubber all the way down to the finish. He just couldn't get it done. Watch once again as these cars lay down huge streaks of rubber.
Killer Brooks tried to handle all of that horsepower, did a great driving job, but that's all the sprout that Jason Peterson needed to get out on him.
With almost identical performances, Ed Hoover and Jason Peterson will match age and experience against youthful enthusiasm in the final. Now let's take a look at the Pro Stock semis. First up, there goes Billy Huff, who will go up against that mountain-motored machine of Floyd Cheek, 800 cubic inches of forward power.
Floyd Cheek, a former sportsman racer, a former sportsman world champion, as a matter of fact, on the IHRA trail. Young Billy Huff also did very well. He entered the IHRA racing ranks through the old factory modified or junior pro stock class.
Billy, a second-generation racer. His dad, Cheryl, very active in IHRA competition. Incidentally, all the cars in the semifinals are on Hoosiers, so Goodyear has suffered a setback in the pro stock tire war here in the IHRA.
But we don't know what the potential is of Floyd Cheek's car, but we know it has to be absolutely unbelievable.
There they go. Once again, the car in the right lane has a tendency to lift a little bit. That's Floyd Cheek, but he gives up nothing to Billy Huff. This is close.
Huff pulls it out with a 7:15, 194 miles per hour to a losing 7:18 for Floyd Cheek.
And good reaction times from both drivers, both under 45 one-thousandths of a second from perfect. Down to the line they come, side by side. Take a look with our ESPN photo finish camera. Great race. Now there is Harold Denton in the Party Time Pontiac getting a last little breath of fresh air before he buckles down to business. He is going up against Carlton Phillips, who knocked off number 12 in points, Tim Neighbors in the first round, and then Jerry Yeoman, the number 4 qualifier, in the second.
This has to be the two most experienced pro stock drivers on the IHRA circuit. These two guys have been racing the wars for a long time.
Here they come. Give the advantage to Phillips in the left lane, but now Harold Denton comes driving around and wins it.
I don't believe it. I don't know how he did it. Harold Denton, a 7:09. That's how he did it. Carlton Phillips had a 5:01 reaction time, Bob.
But with a 7:09, Harold's slowing down. He went 7:07 in the first round, 7:08 in the second round. Now to 7:09, he's going to have to step it up against the kid. Bob Varsha, along with Ted Jones and Brett Kepner. Alcohol funny cars are up next as Mark Thomas, who is in real life a corn farmer, will put his knowledge to use in the semifinals.
Well, in more than one way, because Mark runs ethanol, which is a product of corn, in that alcohol funny car.
There you see that beautiful Dodge with the corn stalk on the front. You got a quick look at Ray Moats out of Russell, Kansas, who upset Scott Weiss in the previous round. This should be a great battle.
Thomas, of course, the defending world champion, kills them with consistency. He runs good ETs, but it's not a 5-second alcohol car. He's just very consistent.
Now, Corky East in the other bracket is already in the final with a bye run. Corky is also the proprietor of the racetrack here. The cars are staged their way. Red light for Ray Moats, and Mark Thomas will have an easy run into the finals to meet East.
Mark Thomas turns in a very respectable 6.17, 224.
There's your bracket for the final. Mark Thomas and Corky East. Well, we're about to find out. Jack Ostrander, the top qualifier, will have a bye run in the semis of Top Fuel. Doug Herbert will meet Wayne Bailey in the other bracket. And here they are, Wayne Bailey with that unsponsored blue dragster rolling back in. Going up against the hottest man in Top Fuel right now. Doug Herbert started out this season trying to find his way as a rookie in his first full season in this class. He hooked up with veteran tuner Jim Brissett, and since then he has been absolutely on fire.
Well, Herbert ran a 5:12 in the most previous round. Bailey could only muster up a 5:27. Now, I say only muster up. Normally, that would be an exceptional time. But on this track, that is not that good a time. This track is fantastic.
Herbert carries the wheels. We've come to expect that from the right lane, but he just drives away from Bailey.
Doug Herbert, 5:02. 284 miles per hour. Watch it one more time. Look at that. Carrying the wheels. This track is phenomenal. These guys can hook the clutch in and really smoke.
Those are new track record numbers. 5:02 with a 284.81 miles an hour. Herbert ready for his 5th final this year. Now, let's find out what Jack Ostrander has decided to do. He hasn't seen victory lane since 1987. He is in this final, and it looks like he's just going to run it down the racetrack.
Just going to save the motor, but you know, the more clutch they put into it, the closer to the 4s they get.
We have come to happy hour at the Snap-on Tools Mid-America Nationals. It's finals time in all of our 4 pro classes. First up, Pro Stock. There is a close look at Billy Huff in his 5th final this year, and he has won 2 of the 4 previous finals he's been in. The #1 man in points, but he is going up against the soul of experience in IHRA Pro Stock competition, Harold Denton.
Huff has to be plenty worried. He hasn't been out of the teens, and the old man's been running solid O's.
Great launch for Billy Huff. Now Harold Denton nudges a fender out in front of him, and it looks like he'll drive away.
Harold Denton, a 7:07, 195 miles per hour. Look at the Root Brothers Party Time car leave the starting line. Denton carrying the wheels, but Huff was out first. Just about at this point, Denton passes Huff, and it's all over.
A pair of 754 cubic inch Pontiac Mountain Motors, but Denton gets there first. Well, Ted, what do you say about the old man?
I think he did his job.
We move on to Pro Modified. In the previous 2 rounds, top qualifier Ed Hoover has beaten 2 members of the Peterson family, both his teammates, Chuck and Chad Peterson. Now he's going to try to make it a clean sweep with this guy, Jason Peterson.
Now, you know, Hoover ran a 680 with a 9. Jason Peterson ran a 680 with a 5. You talk about close.
Ed Hoover has already turned in the quickest run for a nitrous-boosted car in Pro Mod competition at 666. Let's see what he can do here now against Jason Peterson.
Lane choice not very critical here today. These lanes seem to be very equal. This is a fantastic racetrack. We can't say enough about the traction and the preparation at this facility. Both cars taking their time, waiting to stage. Finally, Peterson moves.
Little head game going on here. Make the other guy wait. Good launch. Looks like maybe Peterson got him a little bit. Ed Hoover's got a driving job on his hands, and he gets it done.
Ed Hoover, 671, 206 miles per hour. As we look at it one more time, Hoover was actually out first with a 489 reaction time, but they were door handle to door handle all the way down, and finally, when it was horsepower time, you see the advantage of 206 mile an hour over 201 miles per hour.
The first final for Jason Peterson, and he handles himself well. And so Ed Hoover makes it a clean sweep of the Peterson family. Great effort for the CT Racing team. Now here comes Mr. Corn Alcohol, the ethanol-powered machine of the #1 man in the alcohol funny car class last year, Mark Thomas.
Thomas will be going against the car of Floyd Corky East. East actually the owner and operator of this drag racing facility.
He bought it in 1988, and he called it Wild Willie's Raceway, named after his car. Good launch. Give it to Thomas in the left lane, but he bounces the front wheels. East has a shot at him, but he can't get it done.
Thomas pulls it out when he has to. A 615, 225 miles per hour. Ironically enough, that's the last 2 ETs recorded by Corky.
His 3rd victory in a row for Mark Thomas, who's looking more and more like the man who'll be wearing that coveted #1 plate again next year. 7th career victory for Mark Thomas, and he did it from half-track on.
Corky's with a little bit of tire shake or some kind of problem at half-track.
Thanks to his host for Mark Thomas, and now we come to Top Fuel with an interesting matchup. There is Jack Ostrander from Pontiac, Michigan, in his first final since the Spring Nationals at Bristol, Tennessee back in 1990. His last victory was in 1987. There are the eyes of Doug Herbert, who's been doing nothing but winning this year, it seems.
Well, Herbert just keeps putting more power to the back tires. He ran a 502, 284 last time out. Ostrander didn't tell anybody what it's capable of. We thought he would put a lot of clutch in it and go out and test the track. He didn't do that. He saved the engine and just idled through. So there could be a 4-second run coming up here.
There they go, side by side now. Herbert pulls away and posts some incredible numbers.
There it is, Doug Herbert, 4.98, 289 miles per hour. The first 4-second run in IHRA drag racing since Eddie Hill did it in 1988.
And the 3rd quickest run in all of IHRA Top Fuel history. He did it with a run that was straight and true. Carried the front wheels a little bit, but a great run. 5 finals for Doug Herbert, 3 victories. He is going to be very hard to top for the World Championship. Let's take one more look in real time at a sub-5-second effort. I'm Bob Barsha for Ted Jones and Brett Kepner. Congratulations to all of our champions. We'll see you next from Norwalk, Ohio and the World Nationals. So long for now from Scribner, Nebraska.